Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms, we gotta talk about my KvK in 2377, because we got matched with 2489, we got matched with 1606, and we got matched with, I think it's Baba's New Kingdom, in 3251. Oh, baby, does this get spicy, especially because I thought that 2489 and 606 were planning to pre-ally? So where's the Diplo at, and how's this looking? Well, let's look at a map with the power and the KP, and let's talk about it. All right, baby, this is hot off the presses. My understanding is that the 2489 leadership has already announced they are going to be allying with the 606 war camp. Oh, baby. Now, by power and by kill points, that is the #1 war camp on the board. So if we just set aside everything we know about these kingdoms and say, what if we approach this in the dumbest way imaginable? We just look at power and we look at KP and we don't even think. We just don't think, just look at power and KP. All right. You would assume that the 2377 war camp, which does have a campmate, 2217, and the 2489 war camp honestly look pretty balanced. Yeah, there's definitely a power differential, and yeah, there's a KP differential, and that is in favor of my kingdom, 2377. But it's pretty close, right? The power's off by a bit, but the KP is honestly, it'd be hard to get more on the money in a matchmaking. Not without doing the thing I said the game really needs to do in my last video, and for years I've been saying it now, that they should cut in half the number of times you can queue, cut in half the number of times you can skip in a registration window. Basically, monthly registrations is what I'm suggesting. And then you effectively double the pool of kingdoms queuing at any one time, right? But whatever. Setting that aside, I think the 2377, 2489 camps fighting is about as close as it gets these days. That's pretty hype. So really the comparison point here is between this camp, Wessex, and Mercia, which is the 3251 camp. So it's 3 A kingdoms. Well, no, it's not 3 A kingdoms. I'm pretty sure there's there's Silver Imperium. It's 1 imp and 2 A's in both of those camps. The difference is that the total KP is in favor of the 606 war camp, and the power is ever so slightly in favor of the 3251 war camp. All right, so let's talk about that for a minute. If we assume that 2489 and 2377 are a push in terms of approximate level of punch and the war camp's effectiveness, which, I think that's probably true pending some strategic blunder from either side, which is possible, then it's these other camps that actually have a huge say on the outcome, okay? It is definitely true that if either side here in the 2377 versus 2489 camp, if either side proves dominant, then that is a major swaying factor for the result of this KvK. 100%, no question about it, okay? But I think they are so close in terms of making resources not a bottleneck for fighting. They're so close in terms of account uptime being about as max as it can possibly be. I feel like it's pretty even. A lot does fall onto the A kingdoms, or I assume they're A kingdoms, right? 2217 and 2654 for their level of punch. No doubt about it. There is a lot that could fall on them for being a differentiator, but I think this is pretty even. We'll see how it goes. But down below over here, there's, one of these things is obviously not like the others, right? And that is 606. And 606 is clearly a couple tiers above all the other kingdoms, respectfully, that are in those 2 war camps. And their account uptime, I think, is going to be dramatically higher. We know they're going to deliver because my buddy frickin' Fluffy Ponies over there, Fighter of the Year last year, is in 606. We know they're representing at true strength in terms of power and KP. So the real question is, are the other kingdoms representing at true strength for power and KP? And my understanding is, I think Baba's kingdom is pretty newly formed, right? I don't actually know the details of those kingdoms, but I would say between them, the 606 war camp is kind of the known quantity that has an inherent advantage. Not only is it visible massively in the form of the KP, they've got what 0.65 trillion KP extra, but the power is about even. And field is going to determine a lot. So I would rate them as for sure advantaged in that lineup of the 3251 versus 606 lineup. Now, I will say, what makes the 3251 camp win? It is if they can remove resources as a constraint, if they can maximize the recount uptime, and the same is not done for the other kingdoms in Wessex, then I think that 606 is in trouble and 3251 camp can make a run for the money there, right? If they solve those problems, then I think they actually could yoink this thing. So I would say that, and I don't think it's controversial, right? Because we're talking about the strongest war camp on the board literally by power and KP. Just mathematically, the strongest kingdom on war camp on the board, allied with 2 or 3, technically by power and KP number 3. And then you've got number 2 allying with number 4, which, like, when you say it like that, I mean, like, I don't know, that's pretty close, isn't it? That kind of is pretty close, is it? Is it not? The only weirdness will be whether or not Mercia can perform. And whether or not the A kingdoms for Wessex can perform. Because the most known entities on the board are 606, 489, and 2377. I think that's, like, obviously not controversial to say. That what they will do is very known. It's what all the other kingdoms are going to do that bring in the spice here. In terms of zone openings, so, like, what does this mean? Let's go draw on this thing. So obviously, like, the first fight here is going to be on the left. You're going to have Mercia come out this way, Wessex come out this way. Who wins this zone? I don't know. Obviously, I hope it's our allies, but a lot depends on these A kingdoms and what they're up to. I think that, quite frankly, I don't expect there to be any weirdness in these other zones that are guaranteed and then going into Kingsland. Like, I think it's going to be extremely straightforward how that all unfolds, right? I don't think any zone invasions are going to happen in any relevant way. Everybody's going to hold their zones until Kingsland happens. So what we're really looking at here is 2 kind of 1v1s and then a Kingsland fight, right? And you're going to see this fight, which is going to be really interesting, between 2377 and 2489. And my only complaint about that is, like, the finals of Supreme Strife are, like, a day later. Like, bro, come on. Like, bro. Like, I mean, whatever. Hopefully we get eliminated before then so we don't have to think about it. And it's not a distraction. But, like, wow. Anyways, that fight's going to happen. Deeply influenced, I guess, by Supreme Strife. I'm not even sure what that's going to be. And then the other 1v1 of the 3251 versus 606 fight is going to be a really big deal. And I think those 2 1v1s are going to really set the pace for how the rest of KvK looks. And if what happens, for the sake of the KvK, the best thing that could happen is actually, let's draw it like this. Best thing for the KvK, in my opinion, is obviously 2377 takes here, not because it's my kingdom, but because I think, you know, if you've got the strongest war camp on the board up against, I don't even know, like, is our camp, it actually is my war camp the weakest war camp on the board by Power and KP? No. Actually, no. Well, whatever. I don't know, man. I don't... How do you want to think about this? This would be the best outcome for the KvK in terms of who the hell knows what's going to happen in Kingsland, right? That would be very spicy if it played out that way. Because then you've basically got a race against time in Kingsland for who's going to win. Which, I mean, I think this will be an interesting KvK. The only thing that I think would make this kind of KvK way more exciting would be a level up in matchmaking. Wherein, instead of having, like, two camps that are really not like each other at all, like, the composition of the Wessex camp with a stronger and two weaker seeds compared to three mid seeds, it's very different. It just is, okay? They're built very, very, very differently. How they perform will probably be very, very, very different. And there's a big question mark, in my opinion, for the duration of Mercia and its ability to endure for a prolonged fight. Whereas we know 606 almost certainly has taken the question of resources off the table and account uptime off the table. If that's true, I don't know. Will the other 8 kingdoms follow suit? I don't know, man. It's pretty close, right? Like, the only thing that makes matchmaking more interesting in these kinds of KvKs, I think, is just having a bigger pool of kingdoms to work with, which is why I've been suggesting for a very long time that you need more people to queue up at the same time, and the way to do that is to make the pops monthly instead of every 2 weeks. It's obviously more convenient to have a pop every 2 weeks, but a pop every month for a better match, I'd take that without hesitation, and I wouldn't have... I didn't think twice when I suggested it the first time, and I'm not thinking twice now. GG's. So this KvK should be interesting, to say the least. This might be one of the more hype kind of 1v1s here in this matchup of 2377 versus 2489. That is a really interesting 1v1, given how remarkably close it is. With the exception of power, but like, I don't know, man. All that power difference is just in 2 players. It's Wildline and Mr. Hope. Not that that doesn't make a difference, but like, I think literally you can explain the entirety of this power difference from just like Wildline and Mr. Hope, which is actually insane to say out loud. So this is going to be a very hype KvK. Subscribe. You're not going to want to miss it. Big fights. Damn. All right. Until next time. You have fun smashing your enemies. Leave your thoughts down below. What do you think of this matchmaking? How should it have been done? I'm open to whatever your thoughts are. I think it's going to be a spicy one, man.